On today's program, former Seventh-day Adventist World Church President Jan Paulsen's conversations with young people and how Adventists are touching lives through health programs in challenging places in the 1040 window.
Just before he went up to heaven, Jesus gave us a command. He gave us a mission. Jesus said, "Go. Go unto all the world, telling them of His love." This is our mission. This is our global mission.
Hello, I'm Gary Krause and welcome to Global Mission Snapshots. Today we'll be talking with former World Church President of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Dr. Jan Paulsen. While he was president, Dr. Paulsen fielded questions from young Adventists at various meetings held in various parts of the world. Today, Dr. Paulsen will be talking about that experience and what he has learned about mission from listening to young people. We'll also be talking with an Adventist couple who are helping touch lives in some of the most challenging 1040 window areas. They'll be sharing stories about how Adventists are ministering to people through holistic ministry. We'll also watch a classic Adventist Mission video called A Cowboy's Tale from South America. But first up, let's see how doctors and nurses at a hospital in Nigeria are touching the lives of children in need.
When they are born, they don't want their parents to know. They throw them away. Or they bring them to a place where somebody can pick them up.
When I think of you, I start to smile. You are God and you made me so happy. People look at me and wonder why I'm smiling all the time. And I think, well, why shouldn't I? You make me so happy, Jesus. You make me so happy.
We have a team of nurses who are highly qualified and dedicated, taking care of those children. And many of them are mothers too, so they know what they're doing.
You make me so happy, Jesus. You make me so happy.
Our motto is serving humanity for Christ. And that's exactly what we want to do.
It's my pleasure to introduce our guest, Dr. Jan Paulsen. Dr. Paulsen, former General Conference President, heading up the Seventh-day Adventist Church, has worked in many different capacities for the church as a pastor, as a teacher, as a missionary, as a mentor to young people, as an administrator, the list goes on. You've written many books, Dr. Paulsen. I'm glad you've come today to share with us. This most recent book, Let's Talk, hot off the presses. Why did you, as the General Conference President, take time to talk to young people?
Well, it seemed so natural. It seemed normal. I mean, they make up the under 32 in our church, make up 50%, at least 50% of our global family. And many of them feel somewhat disenfranchised. They feel that they have no meaningful role or place in the church and are overlooked. And I felt, as president, let me see if I can somehow, by conversation with them, draw them a little bit closer into the life of the church maybe I also, as an administrator, as a church leader, have something to learn that they can tell me. So, and to achieve some of that, during a 7-year period while I was president, we held 30 of these live television, unscripted, many of them shown both on Hope Channel and 3ABN, live conversations in every part of the world, from all cultures. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot from them, and it gave them a voice to speak to, not just me, but speak to the church, the many who were watching.
I remember watching some of these, Dr. Paulsen, and my dominant thought was, I'm glad it's him and not me, because you didn't know the questions. They could ask anything they wanted. It's going on live television. Were there any tricky moments?
Not really. I mean, I said to them typically, before we went on the air, I said, look, if you want to make a fool of yourself, this is your chance. Because it was unscripted,
yeah.
But it became very, very quickly clear to me that they felt very protective of the church. They felt a strong loyalty to the church. They wanted the church, not just them, but they wanted the church to look good.
Yes.
So they were very, very responsible. And also I felt in the kind of questions that they would like to engage me in, yes, there were some trivial questions also. But on the whole, they were questions of importance to the church, to the life and witness of the church. And there were questions which they, who cared profoundly for the church, wanted the church leaders to think about. Also, interestingly, I discovered, I mean, sometimes I gave them answers. I had the answers. Most of the time I think I probably did. But there were times when I did not know. And that was not a problem. To them, the most important thing was they could engage me as a church leader in conversation. They were being listened to, and they were being given an opportunity to talk to you, to talk to the church. And that was the wonderful thing about it.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, Dr. Paulsen, this book, Let's Talk, published by Pacific Press, tell me about the format, the way it's structured and its purpose.
This book just came out last week, and we introduced it to the General Conference Executive Committee, which met for their spring meetings in Battle Creek just last week. And we gave a copy of it to each member of the committee. What we thought in producing this book was that we would select a dozen or so of the main issues that came up in these 30 conversations. Because there were a number of core issues that kept coming up, whether I was in Asia, in Africa, in South America, in Europe, or in North America, wherever we were. There were core questions that kept coming up. Questions about the function and role of young people in the church. Question about diversity, race, and the challenges of cultures which sometimes conflict. Questions about marriage and cohabitation, about homosexuality, about military service, about should an Adventist run for election for government office or Congress or whatever. So there were big issues that constantly kept coming, and they wanted to talk with me about standards. Standards of dress, of music, of eating and drinking. So these are big issues. And so we selected a dozen of these and made them into chapters in a book. At the opening of each chapter, however, you will find 2.5 or 3 pages of exact quotations from the young people themselves. These were the questions. This is what bothered them. We didn't try to polish any of those. So that and some of it may not be comfortable reading.
Right.
But it's what they said to the church. This is what troubled them. This is what they wanted answers to. And then I spend the next 7, 8, or 9 pages reflecting on what we might possibly say in response to them. But we wanted the book to be more than just a book which you read and then put on the shelf somewhere.
Right.
We wanted the book to have an active life in the church. So at the end of each chapter, there is a page of conversation starters or conversation teasers. That's the way by which we are trying to stimulate a cross-generational conversation in the church. And frankly, you know, we need to learn to talk more to each other. What happens if you don't talk? When people stop talking, they walk away from each other.
Yeah.
We cannot allow that to happen in our church. I want those who are young and those of us who are not so young anymore to function like a family where we understand each other, we care for each other, we embrace each other. Also, our intellect is capable of embracing each other so that we can give some sort of affirmation, some sort of authenticity to what we stand for and what we share. We have to do this together. We need for all, young or old, to be involved in the life of the church.
Fantastic, Dr. Paulsen. I'm sure that, thank you so much for joining us today to talk about this book. Viewers at home, let's talk conversations with young Adventists about their church, available at Adventist book centres, available online, and I guess even at Amazon.com in time. So I just want to briefly read from the back here where Dr. Paulsen says, "As I look back, I'm struck by the richness, beauty and balance of what young Adventist men and women have taught me." And he talks about, "I continually met my master teacher who never tired of teaching and reteaching me the immense value of every person for whom he died." Please pray for the young people in our church, the young adults, the young professionals who are so vital, not just for the future of the church, but for the present of this church. They need to be involved in the mission of this church, and they can bring so much strength to reaching out to our communities. I'm very happy to welcome Marshall and Rosemary Mackenzie, who have joined us from the Middle East. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Now, I presume you're doing some other things in the United States other than visiting me, but it's great to have you on our program. Now, when did you move to the Middle East?
We moved to the Middle East just, it was February, actually, of 2012.
Okay.
When we arrived, late in February.
So you've been there for more than a year.
Yeah.
Now, you've got kids, 3, 6, and 9. That was a pretty big step, right?
It was.
Yeah. How are they adapting?
They're doing very good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They've had the opportunity to make friends with the kids that are their age. There's a nice group of kids that are very close to their age. And so they're enjoying it. They're enjoying being able to see. Our son said, "Mom, I want to go and see all those archaeological places." So
that's great.
It's good for them.
Well, it's an experience they'll never forget.
Yes.
Now, Rosemary, you've had a dream since a kid to go overseas to do this sort of thing that you're doing. Tell me about that.
Ever since I've been a little girl, I always wished that our family could go as missionaries. And so growing up, that never happened. But now we've had the opportunity to serve in the Middle East, and so when we were asked, we were like, sure,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
Wonderful. Now, you're working specifically in the area of distributing literature to help people in various aspects of their lives. You're also involved in helping young people. Tell me a story of something that's happening over there.
You know, it's exciting to see the young people of the Middle East leading out. And there's one young man that I really appreciated. His friendship, we're growing as friends. He's growing with friends with our family, interacts with our children very well. And to hear his story, the fact that he wanted to know God better, and through a series of events, especially an accident that almost took his life, he realized that waking up from a coma that he was in, realizing God has a purpose for my life. And so he began to follow that purpose. Matter of fact, he had a dream. And in that dream, he saw his friend, but there was no one else in his village. And but they were all congregating. His friend said, "They're over there, they're congregating, they're worshiping together." And And this young man went over to this group and realized all these people were worshiping, and that his responsibility was to nurture these types of families and help people to continue to grow closer to God. And he comes from a war-torn area, and it's exciting to see at the age of 23 that here's this young man that gave his life to God and now wants to serve God with his whole heart, and he just wants other people to enjoy their relationship with God also and have the same joy in service as he's having. It's a real encouragement to see those kind of stories come out of the Middle East, where sometimes people don't think those positive things are happening.
Now, how do you find that people receive you as an American in a territory that is very sensitive at the moment in many political ways? How do people respond to you?
They respond very positively because they really appreciate us. We appreciate them. We appreciate working with them. I've found that people have been very friendly to me. Now, of course, in a male society like that, it's a little easier. But overall, it's been wonderful. We've had people get off, friends that have come to visit us, and they've gotten off the airplane and people said, welcome, to our countries.
Right.
And they've just been very friendly and very open, and we've really appreciated that. We've felt very welcome in the Middle East.
Rosemary, how about you?
I would say the same. People are more curious than, sometimes we think that everybody hates us or something because we're from the United States. And there's probably people that feel that way, but more people are just like, they're always asking, where are you from? And then we say, and they're like, oh, just wanting to understand because they don't see a lot of people from outside of their culture. So they, have whatever idea in their own mind. And so we also break stereotypes for them.
Yeah, excellent. We were talking before about, I think you call them For Your Life Center. Tell me about this.
The idea is, our goal is just to help the people in the community be more aware of their health, and so that they can live longer and be happier as they're living. And so this center is for the community. It's to help the community. It's to meet community needs. And so we actually had some young people join us for a couple weeks, and it was exciting to see how we were just doing health screening, and we didn't expect, the expectation was low. And in a week we served about 600 people.
Wow.
And it was exciting to see them coming from all over the city, really, to come into this because they had heard about this For Your Life Center, and they could get health screening, and it was exciting. We were meeting people with diabetes that didn't know they had diabetes, and we were developing relationships, and it was exciting to see the development of those relationships. And we've had young people from the Middle East University join us in that, and with translation and things, and to see those two components, the young people from outside the Middle East and young people from inside the Middle East come together and work together to benefit the community, was just a blessing from God.
And you told me about a doctor who came and offered to help?
Yeah, we had this doctor who actually went through the health screening. They wanted to see what it was about. They came in, they got their blood pressure, they got their finger pricked, for blood glucose, and then afterward they said, what you're doing here is a real benefit. And I work for refugees, and we would love for you, if you have a chance, if you want to come, you let us know. We'll give you 500 people in a day.
Wow.
So we saw the doors opening and God just blessing, because we were meeting a real need in the community that existed and people responded to.
Rosemary, were you involved in this as well?
I was involved in a little bit, mostly in just helping provide logistical support. But another contact that was made there was one of the ladies, another missionary wife, had been praying for an opportunity to connect with refugees in our country. There's a lot of displaced people coming into our country right now. And she had made phone calls and tried to connect with people and had made no success at all. And so finally she was just like, Lord, I don't know how to find the opportunity to connect with these people, but there's a huge need. And so because of this health screening that was offered, a lot of these people were coming through, and so she was able to connect with them in a personal way.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate hearing the stories. And viewers at home, the Middle East is a place with so many people, so many needs. And please pray for people such as Marshall and Rosemary as they are there serving the people and making a difference.
Manuel Ledesma walks his farm in northwest Argentina. At 87 years of age, he still works his farm every day. He's proud of the fact that he still rides his horse, something he has done for the past 80 years. As the corn leaves Manuel's hand and falls to the ground, his sheep quickly fight the chickens for every kernel. Manuel not only feeds his literal sheep, but God's sheep as well. Manuel and his wife Alicia became Adventists 20 years ago, and ever since have shared God's love with their family and friends.
Y porque quiero contarles, porque quiero que también ellos sean salvos y para el tiempo venidero, ¿no? Porque andar de la mano de Jesús en el camino de Dios es lo mejor, ¿no?
Once a week, Manuel and his grandson Lucas take the short walk to the church at the end of their property to prepare it for Sabbath. This building is home to 20 church members and is key to opening the doors of Ojito to the gospel. Even though his own house doesn't have electricity, Manuel has made sure that the little church does. The mission offering this quarter will help to update the church and provide a source of light to a community that has been kept in the dark. As Manuel sweeps the floor, Lucas practices singing his favorite Sabbath song. As they start to walk back home, Manuel tells his grandson how important it is to give back to God in thanks for all the blessings they receive from him.
Por eso le doy gracias que nos ayuden, porque nos faltaría hacer unas piezas para el otro lado. Y bueno, para revocar y hacer la pileta, puede ser que Dios nos ayude. ¿No? Así que por eso le doy gracias y quedamos a la espera de que llegue la ofrenda.
Every 3 months, Adventist Mission produces an inspiring collection of video mission stories and reports for the Adventist Mission DVD. If you haven't seen these videos, or if your church isn't using them to feature mission around the world, then we'd like to send you a free sample so you can share it with your church members. If you live in North America and you'd like to receive a free sample copy of the Adventist Mission DVD, just call or visit our website and ask for a sample AM DVD or request offer number 303. Don't forget to clearly state your name and full address. Well, that's it for today's program. Thank you so much for your continuing prayerful support of Global Mission and your weekly mission offerings. As we close today's program with a music video, may you be inspired to pray for and support mission work around the world. Until next time, I'm Gary Krause, wishing you God's richest blessing.
You love me so much more than I could ever know. Your love is deeper than this world will ever show. And all of life's beauty shines around this moment now. The sky and the cliffs, they seem to change my life somehow. And I will never be the same, will never be the same. Whoa, I will never be the same. Here I am waiting, Lord, my life is just for you. Please unfold all the plans that you would have me do. And if all the world's just a breath and nothing's here to stay, then all of the love we feel will save us anyway. And I will never be the same, will never be the same. Whoa, I will never be the same, will never be the same ever again. Never be the same. Whoa, I will never be the same. Never be the same ever again. Ever again. Ever again. Ever never be the same.